seats and get ready for another speech. Mr. Marcian is a cybersecurity expert and co-founder of Cyber Hub, and the topic he's going to cover is why and how business needs cybersecurity.
Çe ons var? Elisa'nın kanat. Bo bo. Bu bu. Okay. Good afternoon. So I will try to speak about a topic which is, I think, started to bore everyone. So everyone is speaking about necessity of cybersecurity or digital security, and it is one of the most overrated and underrated at the same time topics, because one of the main problems related to the security in general, not only cybersecurity, is that everyone is thinking that it is something that will happen with others, not with him. And of course, because of that, we see the lack of preparations in Armenia related to every topic related to the security, starting from the earthquake, finishing with cybersecurity. And let's think about that topic which I put here somewhere on the slide, the only slide which you will see today. Before, I have a question. Who from you ever faced a cyber attack? I mean, a successful cyber attack against you personally? Only one person? I don't believe. Two. I'm three. I'm continuing. I don't trust you. Because, and it's happening with all statistics related to the cybersecurity, because in the Western countries, approximately only 1% of cases becoming case for statistics. Only in 1% of cases people are going to any cybersecurity body or to the police, and we can count that cases and understand what's happening in this field. In Armenia and in post-Soviet countries, this rate is much, much higher. And the problem is sometimes that people even don't think that it is something related to the cybersecurity. For example, I tried to log into my old email and couldn't, and I opened another email. So, but behind this story, it's a little tragedy, because someone hacked that email. You didn't manage to log into that account, not because of the weather conditions or because it became a part of the history and you cannot log in, but because someone stolen your password and now he's the owner of your account. But you are not thinking about that it was a cybersecurity incident, because usually people are thinking that cybersecurity incident is something with what is happening in the movies, when a guy in a hoodie sitting behind a computer and making on his screen, something is moving, or a lot of letters and digits are coming up and down, and that's a real cybersecurity incident. So we hacked the Pentagon in 10 minutes, and it's cool. But usually cybersecurity incidents are starting from that small stories. I couldn't log in to my email account and opened another, but what is behind that? Someone stolen your email account and started to hack your another old accounts, which you also decided to throw away and open new Instagram account because you cannot open the old one, but someone is already reading your direct messages and thinking what to do against you and your friends. And even really targeted state-sponsored hacking attacks are starting from these small human tragedies. First, the problem is that in a lot of cases we don't even perceive something as a cyber incident because we thought that it was just a mistake or some system error or something like that. When it's coming to the companies, it can be more dramatic because the targets, the people who can impacted by that incident is growing also dramatically. And just to show you the really possible impact, I have to say that according to some researches, more than the half of the startups which are faced cyber attack are closing after half of the year because they are losing data, because they are losing some assets. It depends on which kind of attack it was. It can be just a data breach after which you will lost the trust, it will be impact on your reputation, and you will finish your flight before you start. It can be, for example, a ransomware attack. Do you know what is ransomware attack? No one? According to some stats in Armenia, 10% of people and companies were victims of ransomware attacks, but it's unofficial numbers because officially no one will speak that they were, and I'm pretty sure that someone here are also aware. What is ransomware attack? When it's happening with a personal computer, sometimes it's not so tragic. You are getting some virus, Trojan, and it's encrypting all your data. You cannot open your files. And after that, you are finding on your desktop the only text file which you can open. You are opening and you see the message. It can be different, but the main idea is that congratulations, we hacked your computer. All your data is encrypted and we can decrypt it, but you have to pay. Here are our Bitcoin wallet address. Please send us and some numbers. It depends on who you are, company or individual. In the company, you are C-level person, you are accountant, which is the best attack, or you are just a junior coder, which is thinking that he is already senior, but HR cannot understand that. So When you are person, in many cases, the attacker even can return your files without any money. For example, there are ransomware attackers which are returning files when they are finding that you are from post-Soviet countries. Because I suppose they are from post-Soviet country and they just want to hack some people from capitalistic West. There were, for example, a ransomware attack when the Trojan first checked keyboard layout, and if it found Ukrainian keyboard, it stopped encrypting. Because of that, a lot of people on that moment put Ukrainian layout as a security measure. But if it's happening with a company, it is going through the whole internal network, it is decrypting everything, and you are losing all your data. And of course, they are asking a really big money because they understand that you will lose all your assets. And usually, you know how it's happening. No one is keeping backups. It's the only files usually. And you are paying and losing enormous amount of money, and sometimes you cannot continue your business. Sometimes you are paying and they are not decrypting your files. They are just disappearing. It was one time when they just made a mistake in the code of ransomware and they couldn't decrypt because of code error, and they just sent, we're very sorry, we are trying but we cannot recover your files. But sometimes they just don't want to lose the time. And after that, really the big part of small startups will stop operate because they will lose data, they will lose money, and and they will have only their bright idea without any assets to continue to work. And the problem is started and finishing from the idea that for some operations you don't want to spend the money because maybe you will never face cyber attack, you know. And it's happening something like with the militaries. For example, our country is spending a lot of money on military, and it's money which are cut it from economy, you know, because army just eating without return. But in our country, we understand why we have an army. But in some countries, people really don't want to spend money on military because they don't believe that they will face any military attack in upcoming 50 years, and they are looking on that as a waste of money and resources and human resources, because you are taking out a lot of people who can work and work a real good workforce, and they are doing nothing in general. And it's just only general example, but in all security measures, usually you have waste of time and resources. You can spend the money on cybersecurity for years and nothing will happen, and you will start to think that why I am spending money on nothing while I am wasting resources, while I can use it, for example, on Facebook advertisement. And it's really a hard choice. And this choice can be done only in two ways. One is just conscious choice when the startup management will understand the possible risks and they will spend some resources on to be more digitally secure. Another way is the state requirement. For example, banks cannot operate without going through cybersecurity certification on ISO 27 and thousands. But now some countries going through deeper requirements. For example, in UK there are much easier standards on cybersecurity, which called Cyber Essentials. It's easy to adopt. It's of course cheaper. You can any startup cannot go through the ISO certification. It really costs tens of thousands of dollars. But Cyber Essentials is really possible to do. Of course, in Armenia it's a bit problem, and in other post-Soviet countries, because you have to unfortunately buy licensed software, and it's a really sad story, and you have to pay for software which you are usually cracking and using, and because the guy which is living the next door is really good on formatting computers and cracking Windows, and he is doing for $10 per desktop, while you have to spend a lot of money on Microsoft software or Adobe. Oh, it's enormous. So, in any case, it's from perspective of startup. But when we are thinking from the perspective of consumer or client, it's becoming more tough, because you as a startups mostly are using a lot of personal data. And if state will not guard personal data by pushing startups to go through the some digital security standards, of course there will be a lot of data leaks, which we are just looking around and we see. And in Armenia, for example, we have a really good law on personal data protection, but really bad implementation, because the highest fine for breaking the law and leaking your data, it's 500,000 drams, a little bit more than 1,000 euros. And from the perspective of the business or startup, it's much easier to pay fine than to hire someone who will keep your data, right? But in Armenia it's more funny, because we have that fines, but since the law was adopted, it's 2015, since that day no one ever was fined. So you can think that better not to have any cybersecurity, because even if something will happen, you can go through we are very sorry, sorry 5 times, and it's easy to pass through that incident. So that's a bad scenario, of course, but that's what we have. Because in Armenia we had during the last 3 years tens of huge data leaks. But we even didn't heard any sorry, even one time, not 5 times. Have you ever heard any sorry about your personal data leaks? I suppose no. So that's the big problem, that we are speaking about cybersecurity, but when it's coming to the implementation, we are mostly thinking what to do, not to do that stuff. And as I told, there are only two good scenarios. One is personally conscious business making, when business understand the threats. And the second is state regulation, which also you have to understand that even if we don't know at the moment really good state regulation on that stuff, we will have it, and the next year in Armenia will become, I suppose, the year of regulations, because Armenia is going to adopt a new law on cybersecurity. So congratulations. Possibly you will pushed to adopt some standards. At the moment we don't have any national standard, but I hope that we will have. So I will stop and maybe you have questions.
Thank you, Samuel. Do we have questions? Yes, please. I think we can pass on the microphone. Is that okay?
You mentioned that businesses will lose data, if they're hacked. What kind of data are they actually going to lose, and why does that matter to me?
Of course, it depends on business. What is usually happening, and you can find from anyone in Armenia a lot of data like that. It's your, of course, name, surname, email address, your physical address. It's not data leak really, because you can find, unfortunately, on our central Electoral Commission's website, you can find anyone's address, plus your passport data, plus maybe from some people also lost their car numbers, which is also vulnerable data. It's usual standard package of leakages, but there are businesses related to the health, and it's more critical data, and the health data leak can cause really serious problems for individuals. It can be more technical data, which is happening very usual. For example, business is not keeping good the credentials, like passwords. They are not hashing that, they are not salting passwords, and they are keeping it in a text mode. And password leakage is becoming one of the most dangerous things, because who is using all different passwords on all accounts? All others are problematic persons, because if there will be one leakage of the password database from any one platform, you will lose all your other accounts, because you are reusing the same passwords in all your accounts, and that's what's happening. And so it can be ongoing process. And of course, it can be a lot of other vulnerable data related to the children, which is more problematic, data which is related to the financial banking data. So you can think, you can use your fantasy, and any strange thing can happen. Sometimes it can be data loss, can be sometimes in very in a strange way. I like that example with the Strava. You know, the Strava is a software and fitness bracelets, and they made a good uh, surprise for their users for on their 5th year, I suppose, or something like that. They created a heat map, of course, depersonalized data on Strava data, so you can watch on that heat map and see where people are mostly running with a Strava, which street is mostly used with the runners. So in which countries people are more thinking about their health. So it was really good until the moment then some people opened not Central Park in New York, but the mountains in Afghanistan, and they found a very small building and a lot of Strava people running around, and because of that data about secret bases of CIA and Pentagon leaked in Afghanistan and Iraq. Yeah. So, you know, it's a really funny story what can happen with leaked data. Everyone can dig and found a lot of surprising things.
I believe I speak for most of us when I say that the vast majority here already has the cybersecurity issue in our agenda. It's correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, especially for this generation, it's already in our agenda. It's in our routine life. But what are we missing? What are we doing wrong? Because we're still facing these challenges. Um, by saying we, I predominantly mean the generation which started to be aware of these issues still at schools. So these are the first year students, the third or the senior students. For them, a lot of topics are not new anymore, but we still continue facing these issues. What are we doing wrong?
No,